Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com. Now here are your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. Thank you for being part of the program today. We appreciate that, and those of you who have always tuned in each and every week. Well, there's always jobs to be done in the garden. It's kind of like a farm. There's never a completion of anything. There's always just a continuation of every project, and that's what we're going to talk about. 5 jobs that, though your garden is planted, most of our gardens are planted, then
you could pretend that there's not more work to do.
Well, you could pretend a lot of things, yes. We're going to go over 5 jobs that still need to be done. You planted your garden, and here's the thing. If you're a new gardener, and many of you are new gardeners, we've heard from you, we appreciate you, we're willing to help you in any way possible. New gardeners, you just do not plant your garden and then come back in August and expect everything to be roses and strawberries and candy canes and Skittles. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of problems that you need to keep up on, or just maintenance, in order for the crops to actually grow and produce.
Right. And that's definitely something that you should remember, is that it's something that you have to take care of, and also that you might not get something right your first time, or
we still do not get things right. So it's sometimes the 15th or 20th time, because as long as we're learning on, okay, example, broccoli, cauliflower, we can't grow it. We tried about 4 years in a row and we said, forget it. We're not going to do it anymore. So we may venture out and try to do it in the fall. We've always done it in the spring though. But here's 5 jobs that we need to continue to work on.
The first one is weeding. And if you live, maybe in a city or a suburb or whatever, you want to weed, because it makes your garden look nicer. But some people may not know that you also need to weed, because those weeds can choke out the plants that you want to grow.
Exactly. And now there's a couple of ways in which you can weed. There are people that till in the form of weeding. There are people that use a garden hoe or a shovel or a garden fork and either chop the weeds off at the base or catch them as they're very early on in the growing cycle, and they just dig enough up underneath them and to kill the roots. People use mulch in order to suppress the weeds. So is there a right way? Is there a wrong way? I don't, if you have a lot of mulch, the weeding is minimal. If you use a garden hoe and knock the weeds out, that works too. There are certain studies and certain things that people would say that this is the best way to do it. But as long as you're keeping up on it, that would be, you're wanting to control the weeds. Yeah.
It could be weed control too. You can use something like a spray for the weed.
Green Gobbler.
And
that's a horticultural grade, 20% horticultural grade vinegar that's already listed. So it is safe for pets and animals.
So that's an option too. We are dealing with some thistles that are quite aggressive in our raised beds.
When have you not met a non-aggressive thistle?
I don't know.
I'm a weak thistle. No, you're not.
Okay, so anyway, that's something that we didn't expect. We're dealing with it. But that is another thing, is so even if you have you're growing in a raised bed, whatever, you might still occasionally get some weeds, and that's good to keep that in mind.
In addition to weeding, we need to continue to water. We can't always rely on rain to moisten the soil in our garden.
But you don't want to overwater.
No overwatering.
So you want to find a balance. So say that you think, okay, Joey, this is you thinking.
Oh, this is me thinking. Okay, what does the inside of my head sound like?
Okay, Joey.
Okay,
Joey. So you watered on Monday. You're going to water on Wednesday and Friday. But it's going to rain on Wednesday. Should you water?
No.
But it's just a little sprinkle.
Well, then you need to water if it's just enough, because you would be amazed if, you take your watering can with the sprinkler head and you water a certain area, and then you move the soil back and that water hasn't permeated down but a quarter of an inch, if that, because the soil is so dry, it's sucking up all the water. So by the time you water, and you need to water more and more in order to hydrate the soil, because just sprinkling 5 minutes, it looks wet. Look deep in the soil, and you will see that it's not very moist.
That's important to know that, especially if you if you're thinking about that, you're like, oh, it's raining. And then
Now, rain is the best way to water.
right, and then that's your day that you typically water,
Right.
but the rain only lasted for about 25 seconds or whatever, a few minutes, and you have to keep in mind you're probably still gonna have to water. But the point is that you need to get yourself on a watering schedule. Not necessarily every day. Every other day is fine. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe Sunday, whatever. Especially as we move towards the summer, middle of summer, what have you.
And if you don't want to take time out of your day to water, Dripworks would be Dripworks.com has all the irrigation system that you possibly could need. We're going to hook ours up here in the next week or so. They've got manual timers. They've got battery timers. They've got Wi-Fi timers. They've got the whole gamut to make the watering easy for your garden. And in order to get your crop to grow, your plants to grow healthier and happier. Just because you have a ground garden or a raised bed garden, they have irrigation systems for that. They even also have irrigation systems for containers on your patio, porch, or deck. So dripworks.com is that where you need to go for that.
Right. Another one is to keep mulching. So if you've mulched, like for example, we've mulched a lot of areas with leaves that we saved from last year.
But we're out of leaves.
But we're out of leaves. And also, those leaves are going to break down probably fairly quickly, maybe by midsummer or so. So you might have to mulch with something else, whether that be something like straw, dried paper. You can use chemical-free, sprayed, weed-free, seed-free grass clippings. But you want to let those dry. But there's a lot of options for mulch, but it's going to break down, especially something like the leaves or the grass clippings are going to break down. So you want to make sure that you are refreshing that mulch, especially if you're using it for weed suppression.
And there are some people that use wood chips as mulch, and then when they don't till it in because that will rob the soil of nitrogen, they will move it back and then plant and utilize it, and that mulch will break down over time. So based on where you're at, what's available, what your budget can allow, can determine how and what you use. Another one you want to look for, as we talked about in segment 1, is continue to look for problems. Hope you don't have any, but be vigilant about them and be proactive instead of reactive when it comes to these particular situations.
Right. So if you want to look for problems. So just like we mentioned in segment 1, you want to look under the leaves for bugs.
Everything looks good on the top while the bugs aren't there.
Or you walk past one of your, zucchini plants and you're like, that doesn't look right, but the other one looks okay. Or anything, you got to investigate. Now,
the bugs are under. Now, if you have powdery mildew, that will form on top of the leaves of your cucumbers, your pumpkins, your grapes. So there are natural remedies that you can utilize in order to disrupt that mildew on the leaf. But you want to be aware of what potential problems occur in your garden, in your geographical area, because the diseases and the potential bugs are very different from Banning, California, up to Boston. They're totally different growing areas, different growing zones, and different insects and problems that you're going to face. So don't, not one size fits all. And when you're looking for what may be the issue, look for and search for university extension offices in your area. If you're in California, don't look for one in Wisconsin or Idaho. Look for one in Southern California, because they're going to be knowledgeable about the situation and the problems in your garden in that growing area.
So, So another job that you need to keep doing.
It becomes a problem if you don't do that.
Is to keep harvesting. So
what do you mean?
You want to continually harvest. Your plants they don't care that you're trying to make a batch of pickles. Their job is to reproduce. So if they feel that they're not being picked, more or less, and that's the only cucumber that's going to grow, they're going to put all the energy into that one cucumber so that their seeds can be resown.
Mature seeds in that plant. So that we're talking peppers, eggplants, tomatoes, zucchini, cucumbers, those type of plants we want to continue to harvest. Okra is another one that you want to continue to harvest. Obviously, plants like pumpkins and watermelon and carrots and potatoes, we have to wait for those particular plants to mature before we can harvest them. But, you understand what we're talking about. The continual harvest. Green beans are another one. You don't want to wait for the green beans to be very thick and have this giant bean in the pod, because it's hard to chew, it's hard to eat, and the plant is already changing its mindset from I'm producing to I'm maturing the seeds and I'm shutting down and dying because that was my job by nature.
And those big cucumbers, especially, they're not very good. They're
yeah,
kind of
they're
bitter,
pig
watery.
feed, that's what they are.
Yeah. So unless you are,
that's where we would put ours.
Right. Unless you do a lot of, I know a lot of people who juice a lot like to do that, like to use those cucumbers. But you want to keep that in mind that the more you harvest, the better those plants are going to produce.
Now, another job, which is not really a job, but it's something that will help you in the coming growing seasons, is keep a lookout for items on sale, not only at your local independent garden center, but also online at your, the Seed Savers Exchange store, Dripworks, Water Hoop. All of these sponsors that we have, they have sales, different times of the year. And whenever you can get an item for 20% off, Root Maker grow bags, you can save 10% off when you use coupon code TWVG at checkout. Deer Defeat, you use radio, you save 10%. The little bits add up. If over the course of the year, you save $100, that's $100 that you have saved because you've kept your eye out. You've used coupon codes. You've seen when sales are, not only at your garden center, but online. And at your garden center, they're going to have potting soil go on sale for, 50% off, 75% off. Go ahead and get that. It's okay. Keep it in a cool, dry place. You're ready to go next spring and you don't have to buy it for full price. So, keep this in mind when it comes to whenever you're looking for deals and sales to save money. You're probably going to garden next year. But in order to garden, you want to save money and you can put that money towards something else. But we always look for deals. We're in this business. We know kind of the pattern of certain companies and how they utilize their sales or the time of year. So you can always send us an email at TWVG, that's the one email, gardentalkradio@gmail.com, gardentalkradio@gmail.com. And if you're looking for something or you're looking for a particular product, send us an email and we may be able to guide you in a direction on where we can provide you a source where that is a much cheaper investment for that particular item than what you thought you were going to have to pay.
For sure. For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.